What's up, fam? Hey, I hope y'all having a great morning on this Thursday morning. I'm gonna do a little quick video. About to go in here and go into this dentist, and I don't know what the heck they finna do, and I don't know if I'll be out of commission after I leave this appointment. So I said, let me go on and drop just my little take, a quick take, and I'll probably most likely do a more detailed video about this situation come in the next couple of days as more facts come out. But we want to talk about this whole school shooting that happened on Monday, where the 6 people, the 3 kids, the 3 adults, were pretty much murdered by this supposed, this self-proclaimed transgender person. And I just want to give my thoughts real quick. One, as you see stuff like this, man, it shows us that these battles that we have with each other, when we talk about race, we talk about money, we talk about the true gender war or whatever, which really ain't a war, from man to woman, this stuff is superficial. And it's a lot deeper than what we think it is. This is actually a spiritual war. Now, I'm going to go there because they taught us that this country was founded on biblical, values, right? Christian, Protestant, Catholic, whatever. That's what they tell us. But that was a few hundred years ago, and so now as you look and you see how the way that this world, let's just stick to the country, the way this country is going, we've gone way from that, and they've done it meticulously. And this is what we as a people have to understand about how things happen, especially our people. Like, I make comments like saying how rich people, rich whites, rich Asians or whatever, we'll say other ethnic, other cultures, they look at things, 20, 50 years ahead of time. But we got to remember that our people did the same thing, because if you think about it, we do have people who in our history in this country, remember, bought land, and they did it for their kids and generations after it, so they can have somewhere to live. That's how they saw things years ahead of time. But then different propagandas and politicians and racism and redlining and all that kind of stuff kind of took that out of our mindset over time, to where all we can do is worry about the here and now. But that's by design, and it's not by accident. So you transition over to what's going on now with LGBTQ LMNOP rights, and then out of all the people in that group, all the sets in that group, the transgender is like out in the forefront, making the biggest noise, causing the biggest ruckus out there, demanding the most rights, then jumped over everyone. And it's the smallest part of any group. But again, when you look at how things are going, like I said, this stuff has been going on for generations. It's been building forever. This is not just one day a little girl woke up, thought she was a dude, and said she was going to shoot up a Christian school. This is how spiritual war, this is how change is made. It is not made overnight. And you have to pay attention, is what I'm trying to say. You have to pay attention to the little things. You remember growing up when your parents and your grandparents would tell you things, what you could and could not do. Don't do this. Don't be out late. Don't get involved in, sexual things at a young age. Don't be too in a rush to grow up. Don't try to interfere in grown folks' business. Whatever the case may be, and it wouldn't give you a reason. And and then we would get mad as youngsters and be like, oh, this is unfair. And when I have kids, I would never do that to my kids. And my kids got questions, I'm gonna tell them. If they want to know, if I tell them to do something, they got a question of why, I'm gonna tell them, explain it, because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be like my parents or my grandparents. But then as you get older, and when you have your own children and you actually look at things logically, you start to realize why they did it the way they did it. Because as a youngster, your brain is not equipped, not ready for everything that's going to happen. This is why we are born as babies and go through a whole evolving process of learning things, right? Because if it wasn't the case, then the Most High would have just had us pop out, did us like Adam and Eve and just would have known everything. And you see how that turned out, right? But anyway, so you become babies, and so that way you can learn the process and, learn the world and everything that it has to offer over time, so you can mature. So when you get old enough, you can understand and better grasp and make better decisions on how to operate in this world. But when you try to give kids too much power, too much respect, too much, babying kids all the way up until they're like 50, and then wonder why they screwed up in the head. But anyway, like I said, I want to make this short. So getting back to what happened on Monday, it's a spiritual war. It's basically what it is, against biblical teachings versus demonic teachings. Now, we can have different definitions of what demonic or demons and how they're produced and where they come from. But nowadays, these demonic thoughts and ideas are coming from pharmaceutical companies and politicians. Because you got these people that want to identify as something that they're not, genetically, physically, and we make jokes about, hey, I identify as an apple, and you're like, what? You're not an apple. You're a human being. No, I identify as an apple because I'm kind of round. I get shiny. Sometimes when I sweat, it looks shiny. And I consider myself, maybe sweet, whatever. Something bug, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, we make little jokes about that and people get offended. But it's true. You are not. If you are born a male, you're a man. You are not a woman. You are not 45 different genders that are made up over the past 10 minutes to justify anything. Boy, girl, keep it at that. Keep it simple. And that's the thing about it. Just keep it simple. Be who you are and live with it. But when you allow people to say, they get upset, to get frustrated over time, they're like, they go through things, they're like, well, maybe I'm not a boy, or maybe I'm not a girl. Maybe I should try something else. Okay, you can be curious, what I'm saying? Just like I was born and raised in a Christian church, Southern Baptist. And then one day I said, well, maybe that's not what I am. Maybe I should be a black Muslim. And I did the studying, and some of the things in that I took with me, and some of the things I left behind and said I was not that. I said, well, then maybe I need to go back to the church. And then I saw some things. Train going, but that's okay. And then I saw some things that I ain't like about the church, but took some things. Dang, church. This train just started, but it's all, like I say, it's all good. Hey, we live, what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Some things about the church I did, I take with me. I hold as value. Some things I'm not too in agreement with. Hebrew Israelite. That's probably the thing that I most associate myself with their teachers, not some of the extremism that people, have seen that they go, that they put out there, but just a lot of the biblical teachings, the scriptural teachings, just trying to base life on like the scriptures, period. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, life is a trial. Life is, you go through things, you figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You don't make decisions that can just destroy you or damage you for life. If you feel like you want to be something else, and you want to try it out, well, you got the freedom to do it. Then you say, hey, this ain't gonna work, so I'm not gonna do it. So people say they want to be transgender. That's something I don't think you can reverse to be back the way it was. So I think that's the problem too, is that they don't understand that they're conflicted, because they want to try something, they want to do something, but really, man, they ain't really trying to mutilate their bodies like that. And so now they're upset with the world. And then they give you these drugs to say, hey, let's take these hormones so you can turn from one gender to another. And you know dang on well, man, hormones, that's screwing up your DNA, which is also screwing up your brain, because your body is one big freaking organism. It all works together. You can't say, I'm gonna take a drug. I mean, look at all of the drugs that be on TV. Just look at the dang on drugs in your cabinet, and Google the side effects of anything that you take that's not natural. Anything that you take that's not natural, and you have a list of side effects that is like 4 or 5 pages long, probably, to be extreme. So I'm like, it's because your body works together. And that's something I learned being in nursing, is that when people say, oh, I got high blood pressure on my heart, that's just, it's just my heart messed up. No, that high blood pressure, your heart is pumping. That is a muscle. If that's pumping too hard to try to make things work, it affects everything else, like your kidneys, like your blood circulation throughout your body. It can shut down, what I'm saying? Like diabetes. You can say, oh, just my sugar high. What does that mean? Do you know what that means? No, then you just look it up, because that will eventually shut down organs. A lot of people that I know that's on dialysis, the majority of them are diabetic. And a lot of them, and if you're diabetic, I mean, it's just really a matter of time before amputation is going to start, because of poor blood circulation, this and the third. It is nothing in your body is separate from other things. Everything works in conjunction with each other. So which means you taking these drugs and these hormones and stuff, yes, you might think, oh, it's just going to help change my gender. It's going to screw up your brain, which is number one. And it's going to make you confused. It's going to jack you up, because you are changing the whole genetic makeup of your body. And nobody wants to understand it or wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to discuss that. And that's what the problem is. So you got this kid that goes up in here, 28 years old, go up in here and think that they can shoot babies, trying to correct something. Man, there's something wrong with that. It is something wrong with that train of thought. And like I say, and these drugs is what is caused, in the food too, and these chemicals is what is causing these demonic thoughts and actions, period. And this is why we have to go back to nature, back to the biblical. You know that what's they called, the Daniel fast? Everybody need to go back to eating natural. Shout out to the minister of wellness. What's his name? Nathaniel. God, I can't think of his last name. And I watch him all the time. Dang, what's the brother's last name? Dang it. I'll bring it up in the next video. But yeah, that dude's talking about eating, that make thy food, let thy food be thy medicine. That is scriptural. Man, we got to get back to that. But this is, like I said, this video is more, like I say, just mainly about the thought process of a lot of people who's going through a lot of things. This is terrible. Like I say, this is demonic, the person's mind. And you look in the scriptures, what I'm saying, Yahushua would, bring out demons out of people, what I'm saying, because it say that the demon has taken over this person's mind and body, what I'm saying, saying he would drive them out. So like I said, whether you believe it or not, think it's actual, factual, or whatever, there is a message behind it, and there's truism in what's in the Bible. It may not be just as, black and white or stick figure explanation as you think. It's everything. And this stuff, like I said, this stuff ain't happened overnight. These people have been working on this for decades, and now it's coming out. And by the time that everybody really reacts, it's gonna be too late. So it's time to take control of this. You fight this spiritual war, you win this spiritual war, everything else will fall into place. The racism, the money, the gender wars, all that stuff will fall by the wayside, and everything will be put right. But we gotta start this, we're fighting this spiritual battle first. But anyway, that's all I got right now. Like I said, I'm gonna go in here, get my mouth worked on. Hell, if they don't tear up my face, and my face ain't about this big when I get out, I'll hit y'all up later on this evening. But until then, see you on the other side.